Sunrise on the Hills by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, 1807 to 1882. I stood upon the hills when heaven's wide arch was glorious with the sun's returning march, and woods were brightened, and soft gales went forth to kiss the sun-clad vales. The clouds were far beneath me bathed in light, they gathered midway round the wooded height, and in their fading glory shone like hosts in battle overthrown. As many a pinnacle with shifting glance through the grey mist thrust up its shattered lance, and rocking on the cliff was left the dark pine blasted bare and cleft. The veil of cloud was lifted, and below glowed the rich valley, and the river's flow was darkened by the forest's shade. All glistened in the white cascade, where upward in the mellow blush of day the noisy bittern wheeled his spiral way. I heard the distant waters dash, I saw the current whirl and flash, and richly by the blue lake's silver beach the woods were bending with a silent reach. Then o'er the vale with gentle swell the music of the village bell came sweetly to the echo-giving hills, and the wild horn whose voice the woodland fills was ringing to the merry shout that faint and far the glen sent out, where answering to the sudden shot thin smoke through thick leaves branched from the dingle broke. If thou art worn and hard beset with sorrows that thou wouldst forget, if thou wouldst read a lesson that will keep thy heart from fainting and thy soul from sleep, go to the woods and hills. No tears dim the sweet look that nature wears. Okay, this is a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Let's see, he came from Portland, Maine, and he was a poet, and also he was a professor at Harvard. So what's this poem about? This poem is about the beauty of nature. Yeah, he's saying that nature is awesome. And he ends up by saying that if you're ever depressed or down or feeling bad, go out into nature, go out into the hills, go out into the countryside, and the beauty of nature will make you feel better. The nature is something that is fantastic and beautiful. So I stood upon the hills where heaven's wide arch was glorious with the sun's returning march. So he's up in the hills, he's gone quite high up in the hills, and heaven's wide arch, the sky, was glorious with the sun's returning march. So the sun's coming, in the sky he can see the sun coming, it's sunrise, the sun's coming up, it's early morning. And woods were brightened, so you could start to see the woods. And soft gales went forth to kiss the sun-clad vales. So a gale I think here is the wind. Yeah. Okay. So winds went to kiss the valleys, the vales that were now covered, clad, dressed in light. Yeah, they were now dressed in life. I think maybe this here, and soft gales, soft enchanting things. Um, the clouds were far beneath me, bathed in light. So the clouds are a long way below him, and they are covered in light. They gathered midway round the wooded height. So the clouds are only halfway up the hill, so he's looking down onto the clouds. And in their fading glory shone like hosts in battle overthrown. So I think the sun is probably burning off the clouds, and the clouds are still shining in their glory, like hosts, like large numbers of enemies who've been beaten in a battle. So the sun is going to make the clouds go, it's going to burn off the water of the clouds. As many a pinnacle with shifting glance. Okay, so there are there are pinnacles, there are sharp bits of rock going up. Through the grey mist thrust up its shattered lance. So here this is a metaphor between the pinnacles going up and a broken lance of a knight. Okay, so these long, thin, almost shards of rock. And rocking on the cliff was left the dark pine blasted, bare and cleft. And on the cliff, the only thing that was left was a pine tree that had been blasted, that had been hit by lightning, and it was naked, and it was cleft, it was broken in two. The veil of cloud was lifted, so the clouds disappeared because everything was covered with the clouds, and below glowed the rich valley. So the clouds went, and down below he could see this beautiful valley, and the river's flow was darkened by the forest shade, and now he could see a river flowing. And clearly the river was flowing through a forest, and the shade of the forest, because the sun's coming up at an angle, makes the water in the river dark, or glistened in the white cascade. So maybe there are small waterfalls that are white as well, where upward in the mellow blush of day the noisy bittern wheeled his spiral way, and above him, in the blush, in the reddening of the dawn, in the gentle reddening of the day, a noisy bittern, this is a bird, wheeled, it moved its spiral way. So clearly this bittern is flying on the thermals that are going upwards. I heard the distant waters dash, I saw the current whirl and flash. Okay, so he can see the waters of the river moving, and he can see the eddies and flashes of the current. And richly by the blue lake's silver beach, the woods were bending with a silent reach. And he could see a small beach on the edge of the lake, which was a silver colour, and the trees and the woods were bending, trying to get to the water over this beach. Then o'er the vale with gentle swell the music of the village bell came sweetly to the echo-giving hills. Then across the valley, over the valley, with a gentle swell, with a gentle noise, the music of the village bell, so this is the bell of the church is ringing its bell, calling people to church, came sweetly to the echo-giving hills. So there were echoes of the bell of the village. So here he's saying that humans are part of this landscape. Yeah, we are all part of this nature, of nature. And the wild horn, whose voice the woodland fills, was ringing to the merry shout that faint and far the glens sent out. So I think the wild horn, I'm wondering what the wild horn is. I think the wild horn might be this village bell, or it might be the horn of a hunter. Yeah. And this is, but to me, clearly, this is echoing the horn of plenty. Um, and the woodland is filled with the voice of this. Maybe the wild horn just refers to the bells as well. Was ringing to the merry shout that the glen that faint and far the glen sent out. So maybe he's talking about this sound is going across the woodlands, yeah, where answering the sudden shot, thin smoke through thick-leaved branches from the dingle broke. So I think maybe there's the wild horn is a hunter's horn, as I said initially, and suddenly there is a shot from the hunter, and the sound of this rings everywhere, as if it's answering the bells of the town with with thin smoke that is coming from somewhere, coming through the branches, from the dingle, from the place. And then he says, if thou art worn and hard beset. So if you're tired and you're beset with problems, you've got problems everywhere, with sorrows that thou wouldst forget, with sorrows that you would really prefer to forget, if thou wouldst read a lesson that will keep thy heart from fainting and thy soul from sleep. So if you'd like something, a lesson, but I think this is more like a lesson, the priest reading a lesson, something to help you, something to animate you, that will stop your heart from losing consciousness and stop your soul from going to sleep, then go to the woodlands. So if you want something that will stop you from being sad, if something that will make up for your sorrows, go to the woods, go to the hills. No tears, no problems, dim, make less intense the sweet look that nature wears. So nothing can decrease the sweetness, the beauty of nature. So enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. Sunrise on the Hills by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.